my mic on? It is. Okay, I think you can hear me now. If you can, please put in a comment that you can and we'll start. Now, I was saying welcome back to our series. We're doing alternate weeks, 1 week of webinars and talks, and the other week going to be workouts. We'll try to see if we can increase more workouts, but it's a bit hard for me because I have to work out on my own as well. Now, next week, we're going to have a really special guest who's going to be talking about all things skin, including stretch marks, cellulite, everything you need to know from a celebrity dermatologist. It's going to be fun, so make sure you block your calendars. Now today we're talking about a topic that I get a lot, which is belly fat. Now to start this off, let's start with what are the kinds of belly fat. There are two, and this picture will sort of show you in the body what it looks like. I hope all of y'all can see that image. Okay, now the yellow one is called visceral fat. This is the fat that is around your organs and is extremely dangerous. This just increases your risk of nearly any and every chronic disease, be it diabetes, fatty liver, heart disease, everything. Now the other one is subcutaneous fat. Now this is the fat that you see in red, which is all across our body actually. It's just like a layer spread across our body. Now nearly everybody has a little bit of both. Okay, now let's move on to what is the issues that we see with this. Now for example, the issues with visceral fat. There are multiple side effects of this excessive belly fat that surrounds your organs. Now this includes things like high blood pressure, unhealthy amount of fat in the blood. You can have sleep apnea, heart disease, high blood pressure, sugar, diabetes, certain cancers as well, a stroke, fatty liver. It's an indicator of poor health. Now, how do we reduce it? Before we reduce it, I just want to come and just tell you that subcutaneous belly fat and visceral fat are two very different things, and the way to reduce both is different. Now with visceral fat, the one that is around your organs, okay, you could be, I'll show you a picture of me at the same weight at my wedding. And then here's another picture of me, which is after I lost weight. Now, the great thing here is that the weight is the same actually. It's not even about a kilo apart. But my size is different because at my wedding, I was something called skinny fat, where the amount of subcutaneous fat and the amount of visceral fat was very, very high. Now, here you can actually be skinny at a low weight at your ideal BMI, and still have very high visceral fat. This is called being skinny fat, and if it is above a certain amount, you are then termed as medically obese, right? Which puts you at all the issues that an obese person will have with their health, even though your BMI is correct. Okay, so this is something that people think that, oh, I am thin, so it's okay, but it's not. If your fat percentage is extremely high, if you've gone over 28%, you will be put in medically obese category and treated as such, even though your BMI is normal. Yeah. Now, how to reduce each? Let's talk about subcutaneous fat first. You can keep putting your questions in the comments, and I will answer them at the end if it doesn't already get covered. Now, let's target subcutaneous fat first. Subcutaneous fat around the stomach is usually not subjected only there, but is all over the body, right? You will have a little bit everywhere, and this is what we call the body fat percentage. This is usually measured either by a machine or it is done with calipers. If you don't have either, you can look at pictures online, which will give you an idea of where you are. Now, how to reduce this? Unfortunately, you can't target just the stomach. You have to target the layer of fat across the body. To do this, you have to be in a calorie deficit. Here, a combination of strength and cardio is required, and eating obviously healthy and in a deficit. For subcutaneous fat, as long as you eat a little bit less than you burn, you will burn subcutaneous fat, okay? This is universal, and a mixture of strength and cardio. On visceral fat, on the other hand, is slightly different. Visceral fat goes not only with a calorie deficit, but you have to change the way you eat to reduce visceral fat. So just being in a deficit may not help as much. Here you're looking at food that has good fats, high fiber, less or no alcohol, reducing extremely fatty foods, foods that are highly processed, to coming down to the bare basics when it comes to visceral fat. Visceral fat also does really well with cardio workouts more than anything else. So adding cardio every day. Now that's why if you see on our programs, we get these results because we've done 3 days resistance training, 3 days cardio to target all these different aspects. We built the diets also to target subcutaneous fat and visceral fat, which is why even the body recomposition programs, you don't see large fat loss because it's meant for more changing composition of the body done like this. Now with visceral fat, we're changing the diet completely, just the deficit won't matter. For visceral fat, you're going to have to start adding fruits, you're going to start having vegetables, food that has less oil, you're looking at good fats over just regular fats, and cardio. Here, this is where the steps will really help. This is where going for a walk after meals will help. I would recommend doing about walking for around 10 to 15 minutes after your meal. So wait 30 minutes and go for a 10 to 15 minute walk to help with visceral fat. Now just reminder, you can have visceral fat and be called medically obese even if your BMI is correct. Now when it comes to belly fat, there's a third type. Now fat distribution can depend on many things. It can be based on genetics, it can be based on hormones as well. Now let's talk about hormones. A change in your estrogen levels is going to cause a change in your belly fat, right? We see this also when estrogen for men starts dropping. We see this a lot in women, which is why hormonal balance plays a very, very large role in belly fat as well. So you could be struggling for really long and you may have just a lot of belly fat because your hormones might be a bit off. So in this case, we have to do everything that we said for subcutaneous fat, visceral fat, as well as work on fixing your hormones. Now hormones are different for each person. We have to know whether yours is high, yours is low. So for example, if your periods are very, very heavy, very dark, very painful, you probably have high estrogen, right? You can have, if you have very severe PMS symptoms, you might have a high estrogen. In this case, you have to bring that down. So it really depends from person to person. Apart from that, sometimes you might have high estrogen only because your progesterone is low, not because your estrogen is high, it's just because your progesterone in a relationship is low. For this, of course, the solution is more personalized and person to person based. I think we realize this, that it's really hard for a lot of people to figure out why they have something and before they jump into anything else, which is sort of why I introduced that investigation program, which is just like 2 weeks of consults to figure out what a person's actual issues are completely. So if it is the third type, which it's usually, in truth, it's usually a combination of the three. So subcutaneous fat, visceral fat, and hormonal issues. The first two are much easier to deal with. Subcutaneous fat is the easiest to reduce because it just needs a calorie deficit, irrespective of how you do it. Ideally, if you do it with resistance training and cardio and eat right, you're going to lose more subcutaneous fat. If you are looking at visceral fat, you have to change the way you eat. Now, just the calorie deficit doesn't matter anymore. And the third one is hormones, right? With hormones, it's better to track it, figure out which one it is, what's wrong, and then we address it. So we've created this new symptom tracker, which will probably go out for free, which I've been working on. My design skills aren't great, so we've been working on it. We'll try sending it out, maybe drop us a WhatsApp. But so those are the three kinds. Now, quick reminder, subcutaneous, everything, overall fat loss. Visceral fat will require cardio and will require a complete change in diet. Now what we'll do is we'll take questions for specific people so I can address it for you. So for example, it might be different if you have postpartum belly, if you have post-surgery belly, if you are a woman over 40, your belly fat will start increasing. This is because of the change in hormone levels, the lowered muscle mass that you have, and of course your metabolic rate is changing. So if you're over 40 and you're perimenopausal, we would deal with it a little bit differently because we'll have to do a mix of fixing the hormone, trying to bring that in place, plus the exercise. So for each one, the common denominator is that you have to exercise and you have to eat right, which you already knew. Just the difference is that for visceral fat, you're going to have to do cardio, and for subcutaneous fat, it is cardio plus resistance training as a combination. All right. Now I will take questions because everybody's will be different, especially when you deal with women. If you are 16, it's going to be a little different if you're 45. So let me look at the questions and help you with that. Yeah, let me see, let me have a look. Send in your comments and questions, and then we will work on those specifically. All right. What is the ideal range of subcutaneous and visceral fat? Visceral fat as low as possible is great. Usually I think 2, 4 is okay. 6, 7, all right. Anything higher, you're getting really bad. In terms of subcutaneous fat, this is your fat percentage. For women, I'm between 18 and 22 is the max, because at 18 actually your abs will show, and at about 22 you will have a little bit of lines on the side. You look really well defined and your hormones will be fine. Now when you want like 6-pack abs, which everybody wants, you're going to have to drop below 18%, or at least like 16 to 18% for really defined abs. At this fat percentage for women alone, you will see issues with your hormones. You might lose your periods. So I don't really think it is worth it, because women genetically, we need to have a slightly higher fat percentage, right? It doesn't matter with men as much, but women it does. I would stay between 18 and 22, 18 at the lower end. Very, very difficult to achieve for women. For me, I would say 20 is a good percentage to be at, right? It's comfortable, it's easy to maintain. You look nice, well defined, and you won't have any of the health issues. So it's like the sort of sweet spot for me. All right, the next one, how do you get the idea of fat percentage of the body? Okay, so fat percent of the body is done 2 ways. One is a machine which does this for you, or you do calipers. The third and sort of guesstimate, which I think is fine, it's completely fine to guesstimate your range, is that you go online and just type out woman body fat percentage image, right? And you will get references of different women with different body fat percentages. Just see where you sort of fall. You're looking at moving from a higher to a lower level, and the visual representation is really easy for you to make out where you sort of are, right? I don't have this picture now, otherwise I'd have put that up as well. Next one, menopause में abdominal fat होता है. Yes, like we're talking about in menopause, perimenopause, because your the hormones are changing, most women you will see will start gaining a lot of fat around their belly. Now the strange part about menopause is, if you have been working out, you've been following a diet, when you start hitting menopause, you will start to gain weight because you're also losing muscle mass. In this case, I would recommend you have to change it up. The effort required from you is slightly more in the beginning, but it will help in the long run in multiple things, because when you're entering menopause, your cholesterol is off, your triglycerides might be off, there are multiple issues happening together. All of it can be fixed by fixing that lifestyle, but the effort is slightly more. So yes, abdominal fat will go up, it'll become harder to lose, but it is possible to lose. Next one, ma'am, periods agar 2 days delay ho jaye, is there a problem? No, if your periods are usually delayed by 1 or 2 days, it is not a problem. If it is consistently delayed, it is, right? What's the next one? Change in diet, can you elaborate? Change in diet, for subcutaneous fat, you just need a calorie deficit. If you try to lose weight with just a diet, what will happen is that you will not gain any muscle mass. You might lose muscle mass and you might lose a little bit fat. With just the diet, it is very difficult to sustain, because that means that you have to eat less for life, which is not possible, right? The second one is that if you just add exercise in the beginning, you can just add a little bit of resistance training. This helps build muscle mass. And when I say muscle mass, you're not turning into a bodybuilder. What I mean is skeletal muscle mass, like the muscle that just joins stuff, that that allows you to move your hands around and to lift something. It's as simple as that. The idea is that you have the ability for your body to function better. So resistance training and cardio. Cardio can be of any form, right? In terms of change your diet, higher in protein, higher in fiber, moderate carbs, and good fats, right? You are not looking, the Indian diet unfortunately has turned out to become just carb dominant, extremely carb dominant. This would have been completely okay in the times when we were agriculturists, when we were farmers, when you were out whole day and you were working and plowing fields. Yes, you need more carbs, right? But nobody is doing that. Everybody has a sitting job today, every single person. Yeah, you're not plowing the fields, so you don't need that level of carbs. So we need to sort of change. Our lifestyle has evolved, which means the way we eat has to change, right? You can't expect to do one without doing the other. So when people tell me, oh, you know, I want to eat like my parents ate, I want to eat traditionally, I want to eat like my ancestors, then you have to work out like your ancestors, but nobody does that, right? Now your ancestors weren't drinking Coke every day, going out, partying, so you can't just choose bits and pieces, you have to adapt. That's the reality of it. Now, if you're eating regular health food and still have the visceral fat, what diet to change? I don't know what someone would mean by regular health food, to be honest. For visceral fat, you're supposed to drop alcohol, increase fiber, change again to good fat. You have to be very careful on the calories you eat and where they are coming from. So here again, if you had, I would give dominance to protein and to fiber, which means protein, you all know, fiber would come from your fruits, your vegetables, and try and use more complex carbohydrates here, right? And this is what will help, because, but I don't know what health food is, but you do need to exercise. To bring down visceral fat, you need to exercise. There is literally no other way. Now, the next one is, quickly, how to lose belly fat. Gone through surgery twice. It really depends on the kind of surgery you have, but you can still lose belly fat because it's not directly related to a surgery. It is still fat accumulation, which we have to get rid of, right? So don't worry about that. Once you've healed from your surgery, it's possible. Now, how many calories should one eat in a day to reduce subcutaneous fat? Now, subcutaneous fat is spread across your body. It's a bit like wearing a gown, or it's like your skin, it's everywhere, right? It's in different amounts. So that is why some of us have more on our arms, some have more on our thighs, some have more on the stomach, some have more on your face. It's genetic, it's based on lifestyle. How fat is stored is something the body will decide. Where it will lose from is also what the body will decide. Now, if your body is the kind that, let's say, you store more on your arms and that's what you believe to be your problem areas, that's probably the place where it's going to go from last, because there's more there. It's still going to go from everywhere. To do this, the number of calories you eat is dependent on how much you burn. You just try to create about a 500 calorie, I mean, in the beginning, even a 100 calorie deficit is fine. So whatever you burn, you have to eat a little bit less than that. So there is no definite number here. For example, during the Olympics, Michael Phelps was eating about 12,000 calories, right? Because he was burning more than 12,000 calories. If one of us ate 12,000 calories, I'd be 100 kgs very, very quickly. It's not possible. So it depends on each person. Everybody, it depends on your metabolic rate, your need, the amount you exercise, how much you're burning, how well your heart is doing, how well your heart is conditioned, all that. So all you need to do is, if you have a tracker, look at your total calories burned per day. A lot of people have been telling me I burn 192, 200. That is probably the active calories burned. I want you to go and look for total calories burned in a day, which will include your BMR. This will be a guesstimate. So just anyway, so let's say it says there that you burned 3,000 today. That means you have to eat a little bit less than 3,000. Okay, so let's say it says you burned 3,000. If you eat 2,500, that's great. You will automatically start losing fat. Okay. That's the best way to do it. How to lose postpartum belly. Postpartum belly, like everything else, it comes again from overall fat loss. But in postpartum, the uterus has expanded. You need to give it time to go down because it expands nearly 1,000 times its size. Once that reduces, you might also have DR, where the muscles, so usually your muscles will your abs are like that, and then you see your six pack. If you have DR, it can move apart and there might be a gap. That gap might cause a slight bulge in the stomach. So we have to remove that. General exercise will also help reduce it. There are specific exercises also to do this, but it will depend on your gap. I usually recommend that you see a rehab specialist. We are also going to be launching this program with a rehab specialist soon, but once you reduce that, the belly fat also reduces. So for postpartum, it is a calorie deficit plus waiting for your stomach to shrink and to reduce the gap between the muscles. Okay. Now, periods come after 42 to 44 days every month. Is it concerning when I'm trying to lose weight? I think if your periods are not on time, 42 to 44 is too long. Here I would look at your hormones, I would look at why you're getting irregular periods, and I would not so much as bother about weight loss, than rather I would bother about your reproductive health, because that is an indicator that there's something wrong with your health. Unless we fix that, you can't fix the weight loss. So it's a bit like trying to change the lock of your door while your house is burning down. It has zero effect, right? So instead you need to try and figure out what the hormonal issue is, and we focus on that, fix that, the weight loss will be easy after that, right? I missed someone's question. I'll go back. Can you type it again if I missed it, please? Because a lot of it has scrolled up. No, I see it. I'm following the reboot program. Does that help? Yeah. So if you're following the reboot program, you're sorted, because like I said, it also already has cardio, it has resistance training, it has the changes that you need for visceral fat, because we have a ton of fiber in it, we have a protein in every meal, they're pushing you for probiotics, they'll be pushing you to add protein in every meal, so you're sorted. You don't have to worry about it, because each and every program has some things that we have made standard, which is to reduce, obviously if you would pick fat loss, it's to reduce subcutaneous fat, to reduce visceral fat, as well as to work on hormonal balance, because mostly women, and it looks at reducing sugar spikes through the day. So this is standard across every program, because sort of it is like I would say it's the foundation of health, really, right? Yeah. All right, and next one. After delivery, our belly gets loose. Can we make that? I just answered that. I have an inverted body. My lower body is not broad as compared to upper body. I feel embarrassed having broad shoulders. What should I do? So here's the thing. Here's what I would recommend is, it's completely okay to decide how you want your body to look. Except don't base it on a social standard. You pick something that you really like. The brilliant thing with resistance and weight training is that my first thing here would be to lose weight, bring it really down to where your body fat is about 19 to 20%, and then to build muscle, because you can actually decide where to build muscle. If you have broad shoulders, I would look at a workout that defines that, and then focus on a workout that really puts you in a calorie surplus, that looks at building your lower body out. So what will happen over time, it will take time. It will take a good 6 months to 1 year to even see a substantial change, and then it'll be much more. So what you will be doing is, if you feel like your top is already broad, which means you need to even out the bottom, you leave the waist and you look at cinching the waist with lots of waist training exercises, and then you will go into calorie surplus to make your glutes and your hips, everything in your legs filled out. So you will get a really nice shape where both will become equal, and maybe even manage a hourglass shape over time. This is very easy to do if you are at a low weight, or if you have achieved a low body fat percentage and then are willing to go into surplus to create a shape. It is completely possible, which means that you can create nearly any shape you want, as long as in that location there is muscle, right? We can't change parts that have no muscle. So someone else has said, I have a pear-shaped body, which is a pear-shaped body is usually someone whose estrogen levels also might be high. So if you are someone who also has heavy periods, has crazy PMS symptoms, that is one of them. So if we can look at changing of course, look at dropping subcutaneous fat, dropping your fat percentage, but at the same time also sort of managing your hormones a bit, you might see that change faster than normal. Yeah. 3 days cardio, 3 days strength is good, right? Yeah, that's a great combo. Because 3 days cardio, 3 days strength, when you alternate it, if you do it in the right way, your body will have enough time to recover from 3 days from the workout. Then you do a cardio, then you have workout, cardio, workout. It will be a great way. Have one rest day in the middle and you are good to go. All right. I feel like I have covered all of these questions now, and we have 5 minutes to spare if there are any more questions. But just to tell you that Here's the main thing about belly fat. It is the last thing that you will lose, not the first, the last. So that means that you will already be extremely lean, you will be extremely fit, and then that is when the belly fat will reduce. Belly fat is not something that will always stay reduced. You have to continuously train to keep it like that. During your cycle, if there are changes in your cycle, in your hormones, in bloating, etc., belly fat will increase. It's last to go, first to come back. So this is a struggle that you will have all the time unless your body fat percentage is very, 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 very low. For women, not recommended. You lose your periods, right? So I think it's more about just dropping to a certain body fat percentage, and don't worry about it, because after that what is going to happen is you are always going to fluctuate when it comes to your stomach. You will have days that it sticks out, the days that it doesn't, and that's just the way it is. We can't do much about it. That is the sort of boon of being a woman. I think I've answered all. There's another one about the pear-shaped, same from the same person. There are no workouts that will let you lose weight in a certain area. You can build in a certain area. So if you have a pear-shaped body, I would look at reducing body fat percentage as much as I can, and then sort of building out your upper body as well to give you a nice shape. So if you have nice defined shoulders, nice lats, you'll get a really nice shape, and then your pear, it will complement your pear-shaped body. But there's actually nothing wrong with having a pear-shaped body. It's all about the glutes, isn't it now? So don't worry about that, but completely okay the way you are as well. All right, there are two more. How to go about PMS issues, and the next one, I don't like to cook separately, please give a sample diet. Okay, how to go, the first one is PMS. If you have very high PMS issues, this is from a hormonal imbalance. We need to look at that. Before you go to a doctor, they are going to tell you it's common. So I would recommend that I'm going to send out that symptom tracker. You track your symptoms for 3 months. This tracker is going to make you track a ton of things that you usually don't track. But once you have it, it'll be very easy for a doctor, or even let's say if you're on an investigation program and you just submit that, they'll be able to tell you that, okay, this is indicator high estrogen, low estrogen, high progesterone, low progesterone, etc. They'll be able to tell you, and then we can work on a diet. So there are foods that you can eat, and exercise workouts that can help, let's say, increase estrogen, lower it, progesterone, different things. But when you have high estrogen, one of the signs could be that you have very low progesterone. Low progesterone is a direct effect of too much stress, because when the body makes cortisol, it has to sacrifice progesterone for cortisol. So basically, in very short, stress causes hormonal imbalance, if that makes sense. Obviously not one day of stress when you're upset about one thing, I mean chronic stress. Now there's another one that says pear-shaped body, you have to workouts. Where do I reach? I don't like to cook separately. Please give a sample diet to lose weight at home, meal that is made for everyone. So here's the thing. If you've been on any of my programs, you know this is why I promote sort of flexible eating, because the idea is that you always have to eat what your family eats, right? You have to eat what everybody else eats, but you have to be able to edit it. Now, if your family is eating just, let's say, poha for dinner, this is a problem for your whole family, not only you, because it's just refined carbohydrates. There isn't enough fiber, there are no vegetables in it, and there's no protein here, right? So it's not a problem just for you, it's a problem for the whole family. So I would suggest, so when you look at this, it's not only about, it is home cooked meals, but you have to make the effort to change it around a bit, right? That effort has to come. Again, it is different for each person, because when we say diet, a diet means quantities. Quantities equal to calories. Calories per person is different, as I explained before. So let's say I am on 2000 calories, but if you don't do the workouts that I do, you don't live the life I do, that 2000 calories can cause you to gain weight crazily. You will be putting on weight like crazy. Where on the other hand, a professional athlete works out twice a day. If I give them 2000 calories, it's too less for them. They won't even be able to work out. So your calories are really person dependent. So they can't be like a generalized plan, to be honest, because calories or the amount is dependent on a person, right? I eat more, I think more appetite. How to control this if I end up eating more because of cravings? Okay. So this is something that we have done at Nourish. We call us, it's Nourish now. So at Nourish, we have done this where we have come up with something called eating type. right? And this has come from extensive research on our end, where we've realized that people are certain ways. Because I myself am someone who likes to eat large meals. I cannot eat small meals, but we have so many people in the office, so many nutritionists. We have one, she eats, her meals are this small, and that also she finds too much, right? So people eat differently, so they have to be dealt with differently. If you are someone who likes to eat really large meals, then your meal has to be structured differently. So to start off now, I would say, why don't you start adding something in it that makes you feel slightly more full? Like, let's say, just, I don't know your diet, I don't know your health, so I have to give you suggestions now that are completely harmless in the much larger scheme of things and may not have a problem even if you have another issue, right? So something simple there like that would be something like eating cucumber with your meal, adding more vegetables to your meal, making sure you have protein in each meal. Again, in general, I cannot just say increase protein, because I don't know your weight, I don't know your goals, and I don't know your uric acid, creatinine levels, so I'm not just going to say that. But start with something that just looks at adding volume so that you feel like you've eaten more, right? So maybe just start adding cucumber before, add a raita, and see if that helps, right? But the more protein you have in your meal, the less cravings you will have, because protein is very satiating. You feel very full. If the first time you ever took a protein shake, you would have felt so sickeningly full, you will understand exactly what I mean. Protein will make you feel full and does reduce cravings. If you have sweet cravings, for me, taking a protein shake really helps, because that shake is so sweet that later you really don't want to have anything else sweet, right? And then we'll come to our last question, which is, I do get severe headaches when I am approaching my periods. Recently detected low vitamin D. How to go about it? Please share the tracker, ma'am. I went to, okay. Headaches can be caused by multiple things. If it's near your periods, again, it's from a hormonal imbalance. We need to do that. We'll give you the tracker, see how that fares for you. Low vitamin D, the simplest thing with that is, depending on how low it is, the doctor would have told you either to take an injection if it is very, very low. If it's not, they would have given you a supplement. You need to take this. Low vitamin D means low immunity. Your hair is going to start falling out. At very low vitamin D, I would even tell you not to work out at all, because if you fell, if you tripped, if you even turned your ankle, it can snap and break, right? Low vitamin D means your bones are brittle. Everything is a problem if your vitamin D is low, right? You have to take that seriously. Go get that supplement and take it. That has to be priority number one. Once you take it, you will find that losing weight also becomes much easier. You have much more energy, and you just generally feel much, much better mentally and physically. Okay. I will share that tracker. We're going to figure out how, but I think we have done our 30 minutes. We've come to the end of that, and I hope that this helped. I would love some feedback. Send us a WhatsApp message or an email, and we'll see how we can add more content into this that makes it really, really easy for you to use. I've been thinking of ways to even add in, let's say, formulas, or the ways that you can build your own plan for yourself so that it helps you without having to depend on anybody. So let me know if that's something you want to do, or if we can do a live meal planning, menu planning session. I've sent out, tonight I'm sending out the sample menu for next week, which is simple Indian vegetarian food. Some of the recipes are linked. The fermented onions and fermented cucumbers recipe with some details in it. I hope you enjoy it. Please check it. And if you want, we can do a session where I teach you how to create a sample menu that is balanced for health for your whole family. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next Saturday at 4:30 with more interesting things. And if you prefer to do a workout, let us know. We will work on that instead. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Loads of love to all of y'all. See you soon.